Hello, I'm Sophia. I'm 78 years old. I've seen a lot in my life, but no one would want to experience what I experienced that morning. No one could. That day, I went to my own funeral. When I opened my eyes that morning, everything was normal. The light filtering through my curtains was the same, the smell of the food was the same. But I had a strange feeling inside me. You know that feeling where your heart sometimes clenches for no reason? That's what it was. As if something was about to happen. I turned on the TV, the news was boring, as always. Then I got ready to go out. I was going to the little bakery in the center of town. Every morning, the baker would call out, "Good morning, Auntie Sophia." For years, everyone had known me as that, Sophia, the old but cheerful woman in town. But that day, when I arrived at the bakery, no one greeted me. At first, I didn't care. Perhaps they were distracted. But then I realized, everyone was looking at me. With fear, curiosity, and even, for some, nervousness. A woman dropped the bag she was holding when our eyes met. A man folded his newspaper and walked away. What's going on with them? I asked myself. Then something caught my eye. There was a piece of paper hanging on the board across from the bakery. It read in capital letters. Sophia Williams, 1947 to 2025. Beneath it was this sentence. We are deeply saddened by the loss of our beloved mother, friend, and neighbor. I froze. I read my own name, my own year of birth, and my own date of death. My hands began to shake. Was someone playing a joke on me? Maybe the newspaper had made a mistake. I asked a young man passing by. My child, is that person me? The young man looked at me, his eyes filled with tears. My condolences, Aunt Sophia, we loved you so much, he said, and walked away. At that moment, my heart almost burst. I was still alive. But everyone believed I was dead. I ran home immediately. I looked at my face in the mirror. It was me. The whiteness of my hair, the wrinkles on my forehead, even the mole on my hand were the same. I'm alive. I shouted to myself. But even that voice sounded foreign. I thought about it for a while. Maybe they'd mistaken me for someone else. But that strange feeling had grown inside me. It was as if someone had taken my place. The next day, I saw my obituary in the newspaper. It even had my funeral time written underneath. Sunday, 11 a.m., the town church. I made a decision then. I would go to my funeral. If this was a prank, I would find whoever did it. But deep down, I had a fear. What if the person in the coffin was really me? I woke up early that morning. I put on a gray coat and a black shawl. The town streets were quiet, but the churchyard was packed. People were crying and leaving flowers. But I slipped into the crowd. A woman attending her own funeral, even describing it as strange. But I was there that day. And no one seemed to notice I was still breathing. I entered the church. There was a faint scent of incense inside. The priest was reciting prayers in a quiet voice. People were kneeling, their hands clasped. I stared at the coffin. A wooden coffin, covered with white flowers. There was a large photograph on it. My photograph. I went over to it. As I approached, I gasped. My limbs went limp. Lying in the coffin was me. The same face, the same hand, the same scars. It was as if someone had picked me up and placed me there. I took a step back, my knees weakening. A murmur rose in the church. I heard someone say, "Aunt Sophia?" But I couldn't hear anything at that moment. I only had my own heartbeat. This isn't me. It can't be me, I whispered. But my eyes didn't lie. I looked at the hand of that body that resembled me. On its finger was the ring I thought had been lost 40 years ago. The ring my husband, Richard, had bought me. I'd lost it years ago. But now, that ring was there. So the person in the coffin didn't just look like me. They had truly taken my place. I don't know how one reacts to their own death. I couldn't cry. I wasn't afraid either. I just froze. Who lay in that coffin? And if I was still alive, then, who had died? I ran through the crowd and out. The sky was gray as I walked through the quiet streets of town. Rain had begun. I stepped in puddles with every step, but I didn't notice. A single question swirled in my mind. Who am I? That day, when I returned home, I looked in the mirror. Was that woman in the mirror really me? Maybe I was dead, but I couldn't accept it. Maybe my soul was still wandering around here. But no, my heart was beating, I was breathing, I felt. The next morning, the church attendant came to see me. When I opened the door, his eyes widened. My God! Sophia! Weren't you dead, he said. I just nodded. I think someone thought I was dead, I said quietly. But deep down, I knew. It wasn't a mistake. Someone had done it on purpose. And I would find out who. I couldn't sleep that night. Those prayers echoed in my ears. The face in the coffin, that ring, that silence. It all swirled around in my head. Sometimes I looked out the window, sometimes at my hands. My own hands. I wondered who was inside that body? Someone like me, or someone completely different? I noticed something else. The Sophia in that coffin had a small scar on her wrist. The same scar was on my wrist. It had been caused when I fell years ago. Now I'm sure. The person in the coffin was me. But if I was there, who was talking here right now? So, before I get to the rest of the story, friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because making these videos takes a lot of time. Please subscribe. In my 78 years, I had never encountered death so closely. But from that day on, death began to live with me. That morning, standing over my own coffin, everything in my life changed. I woke up early the next morning. I sat on the edge of my bed, looking at my hands. The scar on my wrist, the wrinkles in my fingers. Everything was real. I was still here. But who was in the coffin then? I was silent for a while. 1,000 questions raced through my head. Then I decided. I would talk to the officiant again. He was the one who had prepared the coffin. Perhaps he remembered something. When I arrived in the churchyard, the air was gray. The smell of earth after the rain was everywhere. The officiant was a young man named Peter. He took a step back when he saw me. Aunt Sophia, it's really you. We buried you yesterday. I know, my child, I said. I know. That's why I came. Peter's eyes welled with tears. He looked around in fear. How is that possible? You were, in that coffin. Yes, I said. But I'm still here. He couldn't speak for a moment. Then he approached me. I'll show you something, he said. We entered the church. The coffin was empty now, but there was a table in the corner. On it lay some of the things from the coffin. A ring, a scarf, and a letter. Peter handed the letter to me. We took this out of the coffin. It had your name on it. My hands trembling, I took it. On the envelope was written only one word. Sophia. I opened the envelope. The paper inside was yellowed. I began to read the letter. Dear Sophia. When you find this letter, I will be long gone. Don't be angry with me. Because it was my only escape. I had to take your place. But don't worry, I won't hurt you. I will only give you back what I took from you. Because, in reality, I was you too. I caught my breath as I read those lines. What did I had to take your place mean? And what did I was you too mean? Peter looked at me. Who could have written this, he whispered. I don't know, I said. But I had a feeling. I remembered someone. Years ago, I met a woman who looked exactly like me. It was 1963. I was young, a new job in town. One day, a woman came in while I was working at the post office. Her name was Elena. Her hair, her eyes, her voice, everything about her was similar to mine. People confused us. She always said, "You're like my twin." At first, it was just a resemblance. But over time, strange things started happening. One time, someone in town said to me, "Elena said she lent me money yesterday." But I didn't know her at all. Elena was imitating me. My clothes, my speech, even my writing style. And then one day, she suddenly disappeared. I never heard from her for 55 years. Until that day. Maybe, she was the woman in that coffin. Maybe Elena had taken my identity. But why? There was another line on the back of the letter. Go to the old farm outside town. You'll find the truth there. I put my hand on my heart. That farm, it was where Elena spent her childhood. It had been closed for years. No one went there. But the letter was calling me. I couldn't sleep that night. The wind beat against my window, the old clock ticking. Towards morning, I decided. No matter what, I was going to go there. The next day, I grabbed my walking stick and set off. The road was dusty. After passing the last house in town, a forest began. As I walked through the trees, my past flashed before me. The day I first met Richard. The birth of my daughter Emily. And Elena's strange smile. After walking for half an hour, I arrived at the old farmhouse. The gate was rusted. Everything seemed abandoned. But something caught my attention. There were fresh flowers in front of the door. Someone had moved in recently. I pushed the door open slowly. It was dark inside. The wood creaked with every step. There were old photographs on the walls. Some of them showed Elena, but some showed me. Or someone who looked like me. In one photo, Elena and I were side by side. But I didn't remember that photo at all. The caption below read, "We are one soul." A chill ran through me. I took a step back. But I heard a voice behind me. A low, female voice. "Sophia." I froze. I recognized that voice. I'd heard it years ago. Elena's voice. You were dead," I said. A figure emerged from the shadow. He was walking toward me. His face, it was my face. The same eyes, the same wrinkles, the same expression. But this time, she was alive. And I wasn't sure who was alive. The woman looked at me. "I'm not Elena," she said quietly. "I'm you." At that moment, the world stopped. It was as if everything around me disappeared. There were only her eyes. I was looking at myself. But it wasn't me. Or maybe it was me. "What are you talking about?" I said. She smiled. "Years ago, they thought you died in that accident, Sophia. But I lived. And I lived your life." I caught my breath. "I've never been in an accident," I said. She nodded. "You did. In 1963, on the bridge. You fell into the riverbank. I pulled you out. But that day, our souls switched places." My eyes darkened. "What are you saying?" "Your body was you, Sophia, but your soul was me. Now you're the one lying in that coffin. And standing here, you're the one inside me." The words echoed in my mind. I didn't know what to believe at that moment. I looked at her, and she looked at me. We were both crying. Neither of us knew who we were. "Why did you bury me?" I asked. "Because it was time for you to come back," she said. "I lived your life, but I had to repay my debt." She took a step forward and held my hand. The warmth of her hand reminded me of my past. "Find peace now," she said. "Because we are the same." Then, in an instant, that woman was gone. A wind blew, the door opened. And I was left alone. But from that day on, every time I looked in the mirror, a pair of eyes stared back at me. Eyes that weren't mine. And sometimes, at night, I hear that voice from the corner of my room. Sophia, it was you. So, before we move on to the rest of the story, friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it takes me a long time to make these videos. Please subscribe. I've had a long life. But sometimes a life is contained in just a single moment. The moment that changed my life happened years ago on that bridge. I had no memory of that night until I saw Elena, or whoever that woman was, again. When she told me our souls switched places on the bridge, I didn't believe her. But those words opened a door deep in my mind. And the memories began to return, slowly. It was the summer of 1963. A huge storm had hit the town. I was young then, 22. My husband, Richard, was home, and I was returning from the library. The rain was so heavy that I had to stop my car at the edge of the bridge. The bridge spanned the river that divided the town in two. That night, the wind was blowing so hard that the car was shaking. Suddenly, I saw a figure in the middle of the bridge. A woman, with her hands on the railing. I ran to him. "Hey! What are you doing there?" I shouted. The woman turned to me. I gasped when I saw her face. It was me. Same hair, same face, same eyes. It was like I was looking in a mirror. But it wasn't a reflection. It was a real person. "You, who are you?" I managed to say. The woman smiled. "I'm you, Sophia. But you've forgotten me." Then, there was a clap of thunder. One of the bridge's iron bars snapped. And we both fell into the water. I couldn't remember that moment for years. I only felt like I was drowning. Maybe I really did drown there. Maybe something happened at that moment. Souls mingled, bodies switched. Who knows? My memories became entangled with what Elena had told me. I lost the ability to distinguish reality from reality. But something remained inside me. I remembered that I had changed after that accident. A small scar on my face, then the gaps in my memory. And most importantly, my alienation from myself. For years, I thought it was due to old age, to time. But now I'm sure. Something happened that night. And maybe I really did die on that bridge. After seeing the woman on that farm, I went to the bridge the next day. Years had passed, it was now in ruins. But the same river still flowed between the stones. I looked into the water. I saw my own reflection on the surface. But for a moment, that woman appeared. Elena. Or what was left of me. "Farewell, Sophia," said a voice on the wind. "Let us not remember each other anymore." A tear ran down my cheek. In that moment, I realized. The bridge wasn't just a place. It was a passage. Two bodies, one soul. And that night, I was split in two. I don't know who to believe anymore. Maybe I'm Elena. Maybe Sophia. But I realized, it didn't matter. Because they were both the same woman. They had lived the same pain, the same loneliness, the same life. I took one last look at the bridge. And I whispered. "If you're me, then I'm you." Then I hit my cane on the ground and turned away. I never went back to that bridge. But sometimes, in my dreams at night, I see us holding hands as we fall into the water. And a voice inside me says, "We're still there." Okay guys, before moving on to the rest of the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because it takes me a long time to make these videos. Please subscribe. And that morning, on the bridge, I experienced the quietest storm of my life. It was the village's old bridge. Its wooden planks were broken, and gray water flowed beneath. I used to go fishing there with the children. That day, I walked with my cane in hand, a heavy heart in my heart. Dreams had called me there. Every night, the same scene. A coffin, me inside, unattended. Then a voice whispered. Go to the bridge, Sophia. That morning, I woke up early. I looked in the mirror. My eyes seemed to reflect someone other than me. Something's going to happen today, I told myself. By the time I reached the bridge, the fog had lifted. It was as if time had stopped. Suddenly, a man's silhouette appeared. He was wearing a black trench coat. I couldn't make out his face, but my heart began to pound. The man approached. "You're late, Sophia," he said. His voice sounded like someone from my youth. "Who are you?" I asked. He didn't answer. He simply pulled a photo from his pocket, my old wedding photo. But with a difference. The face of the man next to me wasn't in the photo. It seemed to have been erased. I stepped back. The man placed the photo in the middle of the bridge. Then he slowly disappeared into the fog. I heard only that cold voice behind him. "What you saw in the coffin was the time you lost." At that moment, everything came together. The me I saw at the funeral was actually my past self. The things I'd lost over those years, my regrets, the silences I'd kept. They were all funerals. I was in that coffin because I'd buried my own past. My tears mixed with the rain as I walked home. For the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. Maybe it was time to say goodbye, to forgive, to start living anew. So, before we move on to the rest of the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because making these videos takes a lot of my time. Please subscribe. People in the village still talk about what I saw that day. Old Sophia saw herself in a coffin, they say. Some tell with fear, others with disbelief. But I don't answer any of them. I just smile. Because they don't know. Sometimes you can die without dying. And sometimes, you have to go to your own funeral and come back to understand what it means to live. Now, every night when I pray, I just say this. God, give me one more day, one more breath. Because now I really want to live. If you're listening to this story, remember, my child. One day, you too may encounter your past. Don't be afraid. For it comes not to destroy you, but to start you over. I'm Sophia. I went to my funeral and saw what was in the coffin. But I'm still here. And for the first time, I'm truly alive. So, before we move on to the rest of the story, friends, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because making these videos takes a lot of my time. Please subscribe.